One of the most startling things I've learned since I started making content on the internet is how many people have been brainwashed into hating America, specifically the founding fathers. So I'll bring up Thomas Jefferson, and they'll say, "Don't you know he had slaves?" Well, don't you know slavery was the norm throughout all of human history, and that Thomas Jefferson signed the bill that ended the North Atlantic slave trade? Do you know what a monumental achievement that was? Think about political gridlock today. How hard must that have been to achieve? In fact, he called for the end of slavery in the initial draft of the Declaration of Independence, and only 2 states wouldn't sign on to it. But that was enough to get rid of the language, because if they weren't unified at that time, they all would have been hung. And all of the things that people value today that they just take for granted, where do you think they came from? Where do you think democracy came from? Where do you think the right to vote came from? Where do you think free speech came from? Where do you think the idea of a fair trial came from? These were revolutionary concepts, ideas that changed the world. And when you have actual historical context, you know how important these historical figures actually were. Absolute champions of liberty. But there is a massive agenda to separate Americans from the founding of this country, to rip the American nation out from its roots, because then they could take away all of those rights. And that wouldn't be good for anyone. And this is why I help parents teach their kids about the First Amendment, the right to bear arms, history that matters, how systems are corrupted, and so much more. ClassicalLearner.com